right, everybody. Justin Poulin here from Power Supply. Joining me to talk about the Bellwether League Foundation Awards is Barbara Strain, Chairman of the Board of Directors with the Bellwether League Foundation, Ryan Burke, Vice President of Strategic Sourcing at Pandion Optimization Alliance. And Ryan, I know you're very familiar with the Bellwether League because you're the one that brought this to me and said, hey, we should talk about this one day soon. And so, Ryan, thanks for bringing this to our attention and setting up today's live stream with everybody out there following along on the Power Supply LinkedIn channel.
You bet, Justin. Thanks so much for giving Barbara and I the opportunity to share with your listeners a little bit about Bellwether, who we are, and what we're looking to accomplish.
Well, Barbara, obviously you're also familiar. We just released an episode on the Power Supply podcast with you just a few weeks ago. You've been around this industry. I think you're a very familiar face to many people out there that are listening in right now. But why don't you talk about your role with Bellwether and maybe give us a brief history of the Bellwether League Foundation as well?
Sure. Well, thanks a lot, Justin, for inviting us on. And Ryan is being very cautious here because he's also the chair of our marketing committee for Bellwether. So he underestimates all the various skills and things he brings to all of us. But welcome, everyone. This is really a great experience. I've been affiliated with the Bellwether League since 2021. When I received my induction as an honoree, of which I was speechless, and people who know me say, oh my God, nothing makes her speechless. So it was such a great honor. But the Bellwether Hall of Fame for Healthcare Supply Chain Leadership, and this goes across everything in supply chain, whether it's providers, suppliers, distributors, and media and GPOs, et cetera. It's across the board. It's back in 2007, we actually used terms like a group of supply chain influencers. They came together and said, we can't lose all this history. We need to really honor folks that have brought us to where we are today. And so they established this nonprofit organization that became the Bellwether League Foundation. And it's a 501c3, and they do so many different things to educate, to endow, to evaluate professionals across the continuum of supply chain. And we have our founding members who are still with us, which is Jamie Kowalski and Rick Dana Barlow, who do so much for the organization. And they asked me to step in this year to be the chair. So it was quite an honor that occurred as well, because I have heard and experienced the Bellwether League for years. And we know that it stands for excellence across supply chain. And I think the last few years of COVID has just additionally highlighted that everything in healthcare and everyone is touched by the expertise of supply chain across the entire industry. And that was just highlighted over and over again over the years. And we've done so much to honor and recognize those, from Clara Barton back in the day to those who actually helped to establish some of the tenets and computers and various things we do today. And that all started in the 1940s and 50s and 60s or so. So unless you've read all the bios like I have of all the past winners and understood all this, you just may not realize that it's a treasure trove of current and future leaders. So we're just happy here to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely here to talk about the awards, and it's timely as well, and we'll get into that. But what kinds of awards are there? Is there just like one award that's given out every year? Are there several different awards? Give us sort of the structure of the awards.
Pretty much like every organization, you kind of start out around an award, and then you add on at various times throughout your leadership and time of organization. So we're up to our 16th year of honoring folks. And we started out with the Bellwether Honorees, which were those with 25 years or more of experience across healthcare supply chain. So they've made an impact. And this year we have 6 being honored. Todd Abraham, Karen Conway, Michael Gray, Mary Beth Lang, Charlie Michelli, and Deborah Templeton are this year. And we have added awards throughout time. So we added the Ammer Awards, which was named after Dean Ammer, one of our first inductees back in 2008. And those are for folks sort of in the middle, the 12 to 24 years of their career, who have just done some significant contributions and more leaning towards all of those innovations that we're thinking about. And this year is Michael McCullough and Regine Villain will be receiving those awards. And then we added future famers, which are like Ryan, one of our future famers. This year is Rachel Anderson and Jesse Stanton, and they have significant contributions. And we have 39 of those so far to date. We have 143 honorees, and we have 4 Ammers. So we've really been growing this, but we've added a lot to this in the form of education. So we've started some new programs and things.
Boy, I'll tell you what, I like that you found new awards to recognize people that are still in the early stages and trajectory of their career, because I think we all know the people who stick for 25 years have a great deal of passion for the industry, and you want to encourage that. I like the way that you've built this out, and I think just recognition. I think that's a shortfall, I think, in healthcare for so many years, was getting recognition for a healthcare supply chain. So I really want to commend 16 years, you said, of recognizing expertise and commitment to driving, the healthcare supply chain forward. But the recognition isn't just an award, right? There's a whole event that's built around it.
Yes.
And I want to encourage, people to be more aware of the induction event, how they might be able to participate, be aware of it. We're going to get into nominations too at some point in this conversation, but which one of you wants to talk to me about the induction event?
Well, before we jump there, Justin, if it's okay, I just want to break it down a little further for the audience. I think of, and I'm going to liken this to football, since football Sunday started yesterday for everyone. And I'm sure, like many of the listeners, they were sitting on their couch watching some great games yesterday. And being a Bills fan myself, I got a little anxiety before the Monday Night Football game tonight. So, this Bellwether League is truly the Hall of Fame of healthcare supply chain. That's kind of what our mantra is we are the healthcare supply chain Hall of Fame. So the way that I think about it is that those that were inducted as Bellwethers, like in football, have played their entire careers, have, had their entire career journey. That's like the Joe Montanas of the world, right? Everyone knows their name. Everyone knows what they did in their legacy.
You got to go with Tom Brady.
I was going to
if you're gonna do the Bills, and they just announced that the Patriots are going to induct Tom Brady into the Hall of Fame and waive the 4-year moratorium, I have to throw that in.
I had some Buffalo bias there, Justin, for sure. I had to avoid the Tom.
I knew what you were doing.
and then for the Ammers, again, to stick with Bill's woes, that's the Patrick Mahomes, right? The middle career. They've done amazing things for the healthcare supply chain, and they're well known around our industry. And then the rookie of the years are the future famers, right? So the up and comers, those that have a lot to prove yet, but are making incredible strides and are taking risks and are being recognized. And I think it's important just for the audience to kind of understand how we think of it, some of these awards as well.
Yeah,
well said, Ryan.
That's fantastic. And so fitting with Football Sunday. Nice, well done with the analogy there. So yeah, let's talk about the induction event. How does this occur? Tell me a little bit more about that.
It's one of our big things that we do each year, and it's around that early October time. So it's October 2nd on that Monday afternoon, starting around 3 in the afternoon, going to about 9 p.m. with some refreshments and things in between. But it's our 16th annual. It'll be held at Marquette University on October 2nd. And anyone can come. You can go on our website, which we'll sort of plug later and often. And anyone can come from across the industry. You don't have to be a specific leader or whatever. You don't have to know a secret handshake or anything to get in. And I tell you, the when I was inducted was during COVID, so there wasn't a live event. And when I went last year to the live event, it was a spectacular event in so many ways. It was internally spectacular, but outwardly to the folks who was there, it was our 15th, so we do a lot of big things. But it's just an amazing, and you're not just hearing about the individuals themselves. It's not like, well, it all started, out and, when I was 10 years old and had a dream or whatever. It's really more about what have they brought to the industry, and the passion you can see about what has happened during their time and how they felt about what was going on. And some of them bring their families, and you get to know the personal side of things. So it's just a great event, and all three of those groups are honored in some way. And I just encourage people, if they've never been before, to please think about coming. It's still not too late. And we'd really appreciate seeing you there.
Yeah, Justin, those stories, to echo Barbara's comments, are raw, they're real, they're emotional, they are very impactful. It just tells a great story when you get to hear, their journey and how they've impacted the entire healthcare supply chain ecosystem. I definitely encourage folks who are interested in, hearing these stories to sign up and consider attending our event.
What a great way to recharge your battery too. I think being around others that are equally or even more passionate than you may be for healthcare supply chain really just helps you go back to your job and bring that little extra. And it is a tough time in healthcare supply chain right now. So any way we can recharge our battery, I think is a great way. What about nominations? I think I might have skipped over that, and I'm definitely curious. Like, how does the nomination process happen?
Anyone can nominate someone to be a bellwether. There's a whole process. Again, on our website, there's a place for nominations. We'll start collecting those again starting after the event up until about late January, first part of February. Then we have a whole nominating committee and a process that we go through. But there's specific questions about innovations people might have done, their leadership. What do they do to participate in the profession itself, like with professional organizations or community type support and things? So there's a variety of avenues that we actually use to qualify these individuals, and we get 15, 20 or more applications that are just these tributes that go out to recognize people that you may not have ever have heard of and may not go forward unless they're sort of brought forward by people who have worked with them. So there's a whole process, and they ask in that process that they also, the nominators, reach out to people who might have testimonials that might have known these individuals through time and things, and to supply sort of some written requests as well, supporting those nominations. We try to keep it a secret thing so we don't reach out to the nominator. We really have try to keep that surprise leading up to the point until we want to announce it to the public and start spreading the good news.
I love that anybody can be a nominator. I think that is really critical, and also something that we should highlight in terms of encouraging folks, especially, coming out of the event after October 2nd. That's a great time to start thinking about that. And as you mentioned, there's many great ways to sort of enhance your nomination and to collect supporting documentation.
Can I say just a couple more things about the
Absolutely.
event, just so that I get these in? We not only did we build on the fact that we have different levels of awards, we also built on what does that inductee event really look like for the afternoon and evening. We've also added a capstone project. Last year was our inaugural, and we send out RFPs to universities who have supply chain graduate programs, soliciting different projects, and they coordinate with a provider or a provider and supplier to come up with a project that would help healthcare. So by the time they get done and make a presentation, you've learned a lot that you might not have been able to take a deep breath and kind of investigate yourself. We also have a panel forum of healthcare, either bellwethers, future famers, etc. And this year we're having some distributor partners in a moderated panel on a topic that is right now. And so they offer some expertise around things that are going on. So it's education and honoring all in the same bucket.
Well, we're aligned on that educational piece for sure. And I think panel discussions are the best way to go. Varied perspectives, conversational, engaging. I love that format. Huge proponent of it. And you've mentioned the website a couple of times for nominations, information about the event. I know, Ryan, you're going to tell us a little bit about sponsorships as well and opportunities there, but we got to tell everybody the website now. We've said it twice, so tell them how to get to the Bellwether League Foundation's website.
Yeah, it's bellwetherleague.org, or if you just use trusty Google and Google Bellwether League Foundation, you can't go wrong.
And I will just, for everybody's search purposes, the spelling of Bellwether is Bellwether. So I'm going to throw that out there as well. Why don't you tell us about the sponsorships, Ryan?
Great point. And also be sure to follow us on LinkedIn, Justin. For your audience, we have a Bellwether League Foundation LinkedIn page. We try and post bi-weekly at a minimum, just to keep audience engaged and up to speed on what's going on with the foundation. Over the summer, it was a lot of celebration about awardees and nominees and so forth. And through this month of September, it's going to be about our event coming up in October. So definitely encourage folks to check out our LinkedIn page as well.
I got to commend you, by the way. I mean, we just talked about being aligned on education and how much I appreciate panel discussions, but I don't appreciate anything more than I do the power of social media. And so the fact that you're keeping that steady stream of content out there, I feel like I need to put up like a little badge and give you some kudos for that, because we're definitely trying to build a network of engaged supply chain leaders and frontline technicians, all levels, as the same as your awards are representing, to be engaged in the discussion about healthcare supply chain, learn from each other, share great information, opportunities to get involved. And it's part of the reason why we're here today having this conversation. Is I couldn't believe more in the power of recognition and really elevating the profession, not only within healthcare, but getting people to understand supply chain and how healthcare supply chain specifically really matters to individuals even outside of healthcare because of their patients, their families, et cetera. So Ryan, absolutely keep that social media content coming.
Absolutely. So touching real quick on sponsorships, if we want to keep up the important work of recognizing all the work that those individuals in the healthcare supply chain do, and in keeping this healthcare supply chain Hall of Fame viable, we do need sustaining sponsors. We need sponsorship to keep this thing going. So we always seek partners in that regard. And if you go to our website, there's a link for sponsors. There's 4 different tiers of sponsorship, platinum down to bronze. So encourage the listeners that are interested to, again, check out the website, bellwetherleague.org. You can find information about sponsorship. And we are very thankful for those sponsors that are making this event on October 2nd possible. So we'll be sure to give you a special shout out on social media in the coming weeks.
Excellent. Thanks, Ryan. And I think that kind of brings us towards the end, but I did want to give both of you an opportunity to just add some final thoughts before we close this out. And Ryan, we'll continue with you. You can go first, and then Barbara, since you're the chair, we'll let you close out this LinkedIn Live. Highlighting all the great work that the Bellwether League Foundation is doing to not only recognize but also engage those that are very passionate and working so hard in the healthcare supply chain today. So Ryan, anything you want to add or maybe make folks aware of before?
Yeah, I just want to give a shout out to everyone else on the marketing committee, the nomination committee. There's several committees that make the Bellwether League happen kind of behind the scenes. So just a shout out to everyone who's involved in reviewing nominations and, making this thing happen.
Yeah, and also congratulations to everybody who was nominated and wins an award this year. So leading up to the October 2nd induction ceremony and event, really sounds like a great time. Barbara, what would you add? What are your final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I also want to thank my other board members, Deb Templeton and Rick Dana Barlow, and all of our committee chairs, Donna Vervlag, who's our professional development, and Ryan, who does marketing, and Mark Summerin, who does philanthropy, and our advisory committee current chair is Gary Rakes. And we need volunteers and a variety of folks, but sponsorships, anyone is following us, and we hope that this live stream will give you some new insights, and follow us on LinkedIn, and think about coming to our event this year and supporting us and learning more about what we can do. And we have more coming.
All right. Big thank you to Barbara Strain and Ryan Burke for joining me today to talk about the Bellwether League Foundation, the great work that is going on there, and to kind of encourage people to nominate and attend the event that's coming up October 2nd, and to help them continue their work through sponsorships as well. Barbara and Ryan, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been a LinkedIn Live spotlight on the Bellwether League Foundation and Awards live stream here on the Power Supply Chain podcast channel on LinkedIn, Facebook. Make sure you're tuning in to all of the weekly podcasts now approved for ARMS CECs if you have your CMRP certification. So if you're not already subscribed and listening to the Power Supply podcast, just search for Power Supply in your favorite podcast application. And that's going to do it for this live stream. Thank you so much for joining us.